Okay, now we can shift to the next presentation. This will be again a challenge for the technology because António Jorge Marques is not here, but he will speak over. Okay, hello, António. So, António Jorge Marques studied flute and musicology in Lisbon. Since 2000, he has devoted himself to the study and dissemination of Marcos Portugal's life and work. This was a very important opera composer in Portugal, but not only in Portugal, all over the world. He made a critical edition of the composer's Missa Grande, for example, gave rise to concerts in Portugal, England, France, Spain, and Germany. And in addition to 2 CD recordings in Portugal and in France. In his doctoral dissertation, The Sacred Oeuvre of Marcos Antonio Portugal, Thematic, Catalogue, Source and Text Criticism, Chronological Proposal, he studied extensive handwriting and paper studies in this. This dissertation has approximately 2,000 pages and is one of the biggest I ever saw. As a logical follow-up, in 2021, Antonio conceived a project for the creation of a music, paper, and handwriting study center in Lisbon. That project is called MarcMus, and it makes case studies of the collection of the Count of Redondo, housed at the Biblioteca Nacional de Portugal. Antonio has been a member also of the Lisbon Chamber Choir since November 1982. And now he will present his project MarcMus, a case study of music, paper, and handwriting in the collection of the Count of Redondo. Please, Antonio.
Thank you, Emmanuel.
Oh, we can hear you fine. Yeah.
Buongiorno a tutti. Thank you very much. It's not 2,000 pages. It's about 1,048 pages, but it doesn't matter. So I'm very honored to be able to present the project MarcMus in this 6th International Conference on Watermark in Digital Collections. The 2 participating institutions are the Center for the Study of Sociology and Aesthetics of Music from Nova University of Lisbon and the Portuguese National Library. The project has just started, so I will not be able to show you any concrete results yet. Instead, I will outline the motivation, the expected outcomes, and some of the methodologies and problems encountered. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So I will start by talking about the Count of Redondo collection, and then I will explain a little bit the genesis of this project. So the Count of Redondo, José Luís de Souza Coutinho Castelo Branco e Menezes. So he was one of the most sincere and dedicated music lovers in Portugal. And he was a representative of one of the most noble and ancient Portuguese families. And his taste for music constituted a kind of heredity that he religiously received and transmitted to his son, Mr. Fernando de Souza Coutinho, the 3rd Marquis of Barba. His father was very fond of artists, not only musicians, but also painters. One of such painters, Domingos de Sequeira, was an habitual guest of the house, as were the composers Leal Moreira, Marcos Portugal, João José Baldi, and especially the friar José Marques, who in 1834 resided at the Quinta do Bom Jardim. Splendid religious festivities were often held there, and in the Santa Marta Palace, intimate soirees were often held in which music was the main element. So the Santa Marta Palace was in Lisbon, and the Quinta do Bom Jardim was near Belas, which is just outside of Lisbon. His collection is still unstudied, but a very brief study has shown us that there are 262 composers represented, of which 114 are Portuguese. And one of the interesting things about this collection is that there are 228 anonymous specimens. So one of the things this project hopes to achieve is to at least identify some of those anonymous specimens, identify the composers, that is. So this collection is housed at the Biblioteca Nacional de Portugal, the Portuguese National Library. So this project started with the dream of establishing a music, paper, and handwriting study center in Lisbon. And so this project was created, Music, Paper, and Handwriting Studies in Portugal, 18th and 19th centuries, the case study of the collection of the Count of Redondo. So this project was financed by the Fundação para a Ciência e Tecnologia, so that's the foundation that channels the European money to researchers and to research centers. But the genesis of this project was, like Emmanuel said, was my own work on the sacred oeuvre of Marques António Portugal, where I did an extensive research not only of watermarks, but also of handwritings, both of Marques Portugal and several copyists, some of them anonymous, others not. I'm just showing you two examples here. Joaquim Casimiro da Silva, he was the most outstanding copyist ever in Portugal, and he had a very, very long life and also a very long career. And so this is taken from the appendix of all the copyists. This particular copy is from the 90s, and then there are two other examples, one from around 1807 and the other one from around 1820. So you can see his handwriting actually changed quite a lot. And so the appendix B for the thesis is the paper types and watermarks. The paper types is defined by Alan Tyson. In other words, the conjugation between the watermark and the rastrology. This one would be watermark 28, and it's present in Johnson's work 1975. So one of the things that was marvelous about the work that I did was that it was published by Emmanuel at the Bernstein. This is from a database that does not exactly match the appendix. The appendix from the watermarks. So there are 212 watermarks on the Bernstein project. So as you have seen from the previous talk, watermark evidence is most useful when used in conjunction with other evidence, such as handwriting, type styles, and stuff rulings. Patterns of change or indications of date and place in more than one of these elements have a strong corroborative effect. The imprecision of each is to a large extent negated, and watermarks can become a most potent research tool. This is Borman on the New Grove Dictionary of Music and Musicians, writing in 2001. Since the late 1950s, when Alfred Durr thoroughly revised the dating of Bach's cantatas through a detailed comparison of watermarks, source criticism has all but revolutionized the way in which scholars examine music scores. Other similar studies worth mentioning greatly contributed to the chronology of both Mozart and Beethoven's works, and those are the works by Alan Tyson and Johnson et al. So matters of authorship and provenance also markedly benefit from the study of paper. Even an imprecise reproduction of watermark may lead the researcher to source materials sufficiently similar to furnish vital clues for further research. If the watermark study is complemented by stave ruling dimensions and the identification of calligraphies, the precision and therefore the usefulness of the findings will be greatly enhanced. And this we've just seen from the talk from Julian Ackerman. On a broader scale, the music paper maker and the relationship with its final user, the composer or the copyist, bring to the fore relevant considerations of cultural and commercial exchanges, which will also be valuable to the music historian. Despite being a recognized, powerful and unique research tool, musicological source criticism, particularly paper and handwriting studies, is a much neglected discipline in Portugal. Besides my own work, there's been only a couple more works that deal with watermarks and paper types. The alluded to characteristics of the collection of the Count of Redondo make it ideal for a case study of music in Portugal. The expected outcomes will lay the foundations for a music paper and handwriting study center, and thus hasten progress whilst establishing Portuguese source criticism on a par with international standards. That's our goal. The project aims to systematically record and digitally preserve the watermarks and paper types, the conjunction of watermark and the number and size of staves drawn by rastra of the collection's music manuscripts. It will also record the literary and music handwritings of the copyists and composers involved, and preliminary research has shown that the collection possesses a significant number of autographs. The corresponding project site, which is now being built, will allow free access to the resulting relational databases, watermarks, paper types on one hand, and handwritings on the other. This correlation will positively identify the paper types used by each specific copyist composer and vice versa. The information will lead not only to the matching and reunification of dismembered works, but also to the composer's identification of either two anonymous works. And in this work, we can use the invaluable tool, which is the RISM incipit tool. Traditional methods used by musicologists for imaging watermarks are problematic. Freehand tracing is inherently prone to inaccuracy. The Dilex method is ineffective with music manuscripts that use thicker paper. Beta radiography and low voltage X-rays are not only time-consuming and prohibitively expensive, but also present potential health hazards due to prolonged radiation exposure. On the other hand, digital photography is not only practical and not time-consuming and rigorous, but also less invasive as far as paper conservation is concerned. For most music manuscripts, a whole sheet of paper was folded and cut on the long axis and then folded and cut again on the short axis. This resulted in 4 folios where both watermark and countermark have been cut. Each folio is lit from behind and a digital photograph taken. This means that 4 photos need to be taken and processed using Photoshop so that both halves of the sheet can be reconstructed. This was the basic method that I employed in my thesis, the book that I showed you a couple of minutes ago. And again, the experience and expertise will be invaluable as well as the expertise brought by the other team members and consultants. The objective of MarcMus will now be to greatly improve the process, as well as using English as work language and not Portuguese as before. Not only will the material used for recording the images be substantially upgraded, but so will the post-processing, thus creating high-quality images where watermark, countermark, respective twin marks, whenever possible, and chain lines are clearly visible and measurable. A problem lies in the writing left by the scribe, as well as by the raster, the staves. They tend to partially obscure both the watermark and the countermark. However, during the last few years, much progress has been made in methods and software for processing images and specifically enhancing the visibility of watermark and countermark. So we've leaned on this wonderful project, Paper and Copies in Venice Opera Scores. Well, Emmanuel Wenger has served like our link, because he's in both projects. He's also a consultant of MarcMus, and the help from Martin Eibel and his team have been absolutely invaluable. And if I may be allowed to say, this project has served as an inspiration, as a model to MarcMus. It is as if they were the older and more experienced brother, if I may say so. So a huge thank you to Martin Eibel, to Christian Maria Hornbachner and Johannes Hornbachner, as well as Emmanuel Wenger. We are still on a testing phase, but we will like in the copies in Venice Opera Scores, watermarks and copies. We will also use the MATLAB. In other words, we will use image subtraction. It is beyond the scope of this project to create a critical mass that will sustain what will eventually become the Music Paper and Handwriting Study Center. However, promising seeds will be planted in a variety of ways. The project itself and the immediately visible and freely accessible outcomes, the website and searchable databases, the added experience and expertise of all the people involved at the end of the project, the training of the research fellow and of the two initiation research students intensely at the beginning of their contracts, but also throughout, and the kickoff workshops that have taken place. Dissemination in academia and beyond will also contribute to this process, and the end of Project Colloquium will coincide with the opening of an exhibition at the participant institution, the National Library of Portugal, to be visited by the general public and children from schools, where, amongst other things, the inherent aesthetic qualities of watermarks and calligraphies will be appreciated. The exhibition will afterwards move to the Centre par excellence of Portuguese Paper Studies, the award-winning Museu do Papel de Paper Museum in Paços de Brandão, northern Portugal. Like before, it is expected that alongside the general public, it will also be visited by children and teenagers from schools. Dissemination beyond academia will also be aided by using open access software, following SESEM policy of not using platforms requiring a license. With this in mind, the data will be available at the project website with an open source CMS Drupal, which uses the internet in a structuring way. It is a software designed for creating websites and integrates content in an organic way. The dissemination will be further enhanced by linking and exporting the complete watermark paper type database to the largest and most accomplished site devoted to paper studies, the Bernstein Project, Member of Paper, where it will be freely accessible and researchable. Its mastermind, Emmanuel Wenger, consultant to the project, will program and oversee this process. The international dimension of the project, a crucial strategy towards a leveling of Portuguese source criticism with the highest standards globally available, will be further enhanced by the clear link with the International Association of Paper Historians and the Asociación Hispánica de Historiadores de Papel, provided by the three consultants, Maria José Ferreira dos Santos, Maria del Carmen Hidalgo Brinquis, and Emmanuel Wenger. They all have ties to AHHP and IPH. It is expected that these ties will endure for the envisaged Music, Paper and Handwriting Study Center, the logical outcome of the present project to be created by a protocol between the participant institution, the National Library of Portugal, and the participant research unit, the Center for the Study of Sociology and Aesthetics of Music. So this is the team. It's a very small team, as you can see. We've just hired the research fellow and the student, the scientific initiation student. At all times, there will be two fellows or two research students analyzing the specimens and taking the photographs and doing whatever is needed under the supervision of myself and the co-principal investigator. We also have an invited IT engineer, since MATLAB is something that is not comprehensible to a mere musicologist like myself. We also acquired a PC with a screen, a digital Canon camera. The light table that was initially programmed was actually lent by the National Library of Portugal, and a flexible light sheet which still has to arrive. So just to give you an idea of the timeline, it's a very short project. So you are probably wondering, that huge number of specimens. So we will not do all of them. We will just, this is an exploratory project. So we will just get it started, get it on its feet, have the databases working, have the website, and have a few dozen watermarks and calligraphies recorded. So the points 3 and 4, digital photographing of watermarks and rostrology and processing digital images, these two are behind. All the rest are going well. This is a schema to make it clear, to make clear how it will work. So the music manuscripts of the collection of Count of Redondo, RISM will be used to help find works that so far have remained anonymous. So the handwriting will obviously talk to the watermark, so we will know what copies and composers will use a particular watermark and vice versa, and then the whole database for the watermarks and paper types will be then exported to Bernstein project, The Memory of Paper. So this is a brief bibliography, cited bibliography. And, well, thank you very much.